Hey everyone, I'm Hayley.
And I'm V.
And welcome to our How to Play video for Downstairs at the Abbey, the upstairs-downstairs expansion for Good Society. In this game, you tell parallel stories of what's happening upstairs and downstairs and explore the lives of servants and the drama they've got going on as well. So in our video today, we're going to be explaining the main rule changes between Good Society and Downstairs at the Abbey. And we're also going to be playing our own little two-player game of Downstairs so you can get the idea of how these rules work. Downstairs at the Abbey is an expansion for Good Society, so you'll need to know all the rules of the base game in order to play. If you'd like to know how to play Good Society, you can check out our How to Play video, which we've linked in the description. As well as this, not every detail of Downstairs at the Abbey is included in this video, so if you're planning to run it, we recommend you give it a read. But we'll be explaining most of the rules you need to know today. Before we jump in, a quick note on preparing your game of Downstairs. To make the game feel like an upstairs-downstairs story, we recommend you play with 4 to 5 players, including the facilitator. The facilitator should also play a major character. As well as this, to get the best play experience, we recommend games of at least 3 cycles. I've prepared our game today for 3 cycles, so we'll be using the rules for starting a full game containing the text. With that said, let's jump into our game.
So we've already done our collaboration beforehand. We've chosen romantic comedy as our tone. Our history is somewhat important. Gender roles is historical, and we are not playing with hidden information.
So with that complete, we're going to move on to the second part of collaboration in Downstairs at the Abbey, and that is Manor Collaboration. So this is where we're going to establish a shared understanding of the great manor where our characters will live. So we're going to start by reading the description of our manor, and this description is the same for all manors in Downstairs. Downstairs at the Abbey follows the story of a grand manor house and those who dwell within it. All the major characters live within the walls of this manor, so it's important we establish a little bit about it. Our manor is both old and grand, an ostentatious sign of wealth. To enjoy its ownership is prestigious, and to sell it is a shameful abandonment of your legacy. It winds up over 3 floors, boasts more than 30 rooms, including drawing rooms, dressing rooms, libraries, guest bedrooms, dining halls, morning rooms, studies, and more. A door on the ground floor separates the living areas from the servants' rooms, including linen cupboards and sleeping quarters. From here, a small courtyard leads to an additional building, which contains areas such as the kitchen, cellar, and servants' hall. While home to only one family, the manor takes more than 16 indoor servants to run, from the butler and the housekeeper down to the hall boy and the laundry maid. Outside, a number of other staff such as gardeners and stable hands keep the place in good order. That is all I will tell you about this manor. The rest is up to you, or in this case, us. So with that in mind, the next thing we are going to do is create our manor by adding some details about it. And we're going to be recording these on the manor sheet over here. So the first thing we need to do is each contribute a detail that describes the manor as a whole.
Okay, so what were you thinking about our manor? So I guess my detail about the manor is that it is one of those manors that is old and has a layer of dust and rooms that have been covered over with linen and they're not being used currently. But this part of the house that is still open and used is bright and ostentatious.
So most of the manor is not in use.
Yeah, a lot of the manor is not in use.
Okay, cool. I want to say that the manor overlooks a really popular riding area, and so basically if you go up to the top floor and look out the window, you can see a constant stream of neighbouring gentry riding back and forth along the glades and chattering. So this first detail was about our manor overall. The second detail we are going to create is something specific about our manor.
Okay, one specific detail in this manor is that the courtyard, the main courtyard leading up to the manor, has a ornate fountain that is beautiful and is also being used as like a wishing well. So at the bottom of this fountain, there's just lots and lots and lots of pennies and coins.
So it sounds like these grounds
When-
are sort of open.
During visiting hours. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, we can't keep them like this all night long. But yeah, I think there are visiting hours to the manor because it's just an old, architecturally beautiful location. And you ride past, you throw your coin in, you make a wish.
Cool. So, ornate wishing well. It's interesting that the grounds of this manor are open for people to come in and visit, but much of the actual manor itself is not used, which suggests that there is not many people currently living there. I think that one of the previous lords of the manor, or owners of the manor, was a great scholar in the field of ethics. So the library is just packed full of books about how to live a righteous life. And no novels, no poetry, just books about living a righteous life.
Okay.
Okay, so with those details established, the last thing we need to do is name our manor. I'm feeling a something hall.
Yeah, that's true. Like Swinley Hall?
Swinley Hall, I like it. Great, so that's the end of collaboration. So the next thing we're going to do is complete upstairs backstory. In Downstairs at the Abbey, most players will take on the role of two major characters, one upstairs major character and one downstairs major character. We start by making our upstairs characters, and then the downstairs characters are created a bit later in the cycle. So I've gone ahead and prepared our playset for today, and all playsets in Downstairs at the Abbey are used in full. So I've compiled sets of desires, relationships, character roles, and family backgrounds, as indicated by the playset, and we'll be using them as is. Upstairs backstory is very similar to Good Society. And as always, we are going to start by choosing our characters based on the desires. Are either of these desires calling out to you?
I think I'll pick this one, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that sounds
If you're happy to play either of those, I'll take the cornerstone with the desire.
Okay, I'll grab this one. So, would you like to read out your desire, since that's a starting point for our characters?
My desire is determine your love's true feelings and re-establish your engagement.
And my desire is protect your younger sibling from all ill and make sure they marry who you choose. So since that's my desire and my relationship card is sibling, that will make you my youngest sibling.
Okay.
Now, ordinarily in Downstairs at the Abbey, characters can only form relationships with those in their own spheres. So upstairs character will always form relationships with upstairs characters, and downstairs characters will form relationships with downstairs characters. However, there are some relationship cards that cross over this upstairs and downstairs divide, and those will be written on the cards.
Yeah, I've got one of those here.
So I think you've got one of those cards.
Mine says upstairs, downstairs.
So what we do is we set that one aside for now, and then we'll come back to that during downstairs backstory.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to put that aside.
Right, so now we've formed our relationships, we're going to go ahead and create our upstairs characters, as we normally would in Good Society. So let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
According to my desire, our parents have passed away, which means I have just inherited everything.
Okay.
So that would make me the Earl.
The Earl. You are the Earl.
Or Lord so-and-so.
Okay.
So let's introduce our upstairs major characters. So I'll start. I'm going to be playing Lord Edgar Russell. Recently inherited Swinley Hall when our parents tragically passed away, presumably not at the same time.
Bless their souls.
When our father passed away. And he is always dressed to preserve his rank and position. Heaven help someone not be able to look at him and instantly know that he is a member of the peerage, with all of the privilege that entails and all of the coattails that entails. He was definitely enjoying the wealth of the family without any of the responsibility before his father went away. I think he was traveling around the continent. He was traveling around the continent, partying it up, but he doesn't really understand jokes. Like, he's very serious when you talk to him, even though he's very interested in spending money.
I'm going to be playing Lady Louise Russell. She's been at home the entire time that our parents have been ill and before they shuffled off the mortal coil. She's very proper in her appearance, but she always puts on a very kind smile, and she, in her temperament, is rather quiet when it comes to time for like large parties or large groups, but in private she can be very willful and self-assured and stubborn, some might say.
A family trait. I think that Edgar has just been away in the continent and he's only returned just now. Obviously he was there for the funeral and then now to take on his new position as Earl 3 to 6 months ago.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So now we have our upstairs major characters. We are going to be creating a connection for them. In Downstairs in the Abbey, we only create one connection for each of our major characters. Given that my desire is to have you marry someone of particular wealth and rank, and yours is to determine your love's true feelings and reestablish your engagement.
Yeah.
It could work if your connection is somebody who you want to marry and somebody who I don't want you to marry.
That sounds right.
So I think I'm going to make Edgar a wife.
So you can model that good husband-wife energy for me.
Yes. Presumably, this is the wife who has caused him to understand that his life has changed trajectory. He's no longer free of responsibility and able to gallivant around the continent. Now he has to run a large house. People are looking at him and he has to start a family and all of those kind of things.
The Lady
Russell. So I hope that doesn't rub you up the wrong way.
Well, I've had 6 months to get used to it.
So let's introduce our connections. My connection is Lady Larissa Russell, or the Lady Russell. She is Edgar's wife. She's 28 years old, and her opinion of Edgar is that he must prove himself to her, or she will have to take matters in hand. How about you?
Oh, I have some questions.
Yes.
Is this the first time she's been in our local area?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So she's new. She came with you from the continent.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no. She is English.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. We met upon the continent.
As you do.
Yes.
Well, I have a local boy. His name is Mr. Reverend Matthew Longbourn. He's 26. He's a close childhood friend at this stage, but, we are very close. He's newly ordained, as I said, the local pastor, and he loves the library at Swinley Hall. Loves it.
So when you say local pastor, is he the minister at the church on our property?
Oh, yes. Let's make it worse. Yes. Sure.
So are you childhood sweethearts? When did this love start to blossom? How long ago?
I think that it's one of those loves that's always been there. We've always cared about each other as children. And as we grew older, we understood that love to be like, there is some romantic love in there, but we are both the kinds of people who are very tied to our community and our role. And I don't think that we wanted to pursue something officially until it was appropriate to do so.
And did our dearly departed father know about this relationship? What did he think about it?
Would it be more interesting if he did know and he approved of it, but then he's now passed on, and now you're coming in with these new ideas?
I like that.
And that, like, near the end of his life, if he finally said yes, but then I don't think that you are honouring that request.
As usual in good society, we are all going to pick one connection created by another person to play.
Let me pick yours.
Yes. Would you like to play Larissa? And I will happily play Matthew.
Okay.
The cutie boy. That's our upstairs backstory complete. So we're going to get into our first novel chapter. The first novel chapter of Downstairs at the Abbey is always an event chapter. And this has to be an event which is held at the manor. So in this case, an event held at Swinley Hall. And I'm imagining, since our father has passed away kind of recently, we haven't really been throwing big society events. You know, maybe even the grounds that are normally open to visitors have been kind of closed off during this period of mourning. And I wonder if this is the first time that they've been reopened, and maybe we're having some sort of garden party for the local gentry
Yes,
to
I
sort
think
of
that's a good idea.
be like, yeah, the house has been reopened.
Yeah.
I would like to open on a conversation. Let's jump in with a conversation with Edgar and Larissa. I wonder if Larissa has come in to Edgar's dressing area to help apply the final touches. He's having some trouble because he owns so very many
Kerchiefs.
Cravats. And all of these he owned before he was an earl.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's an earl. He doesn't know which of his cravats
are all appropriate
are suitable.
I see. Yeah, I think that's good. And so Larissa swans in and says, what is this trouble that you're having?
What does Larissa look like?
I think she's quite curly-haired, bouncy in her hair.
Mm-hmm.
She's very uplifting as a person, but very much still looking the part. You know, you can see she's... I guess it makes people think that she's very welcome and inviting.
My dear, you know how fond I am of purple. And yet, is a purple cravat something which an earl wears to a garden party?
I think she pats it and says, removes a little bit of a crease in it and says, purple is a very regal colour, darling. Of course, I think this one, you've made a great choice here. I think this is very good. Which ones did you discard?
And then you just, I think Larissa just turns around and sees 5 discarded cravats all lined up in a row at the edge of the bed.
This slate grey one also would have been appropriate, and she kind of looks wistfully at it. But the purple, I feel it is turning over a new leaf and letting all those in attendance know that we've grieved and we're ready to embrace new life.
You're not worried, are you, Larissa, about today? Tell me you are not worried. I'm not worried. Why should I be worried? I have no worries about the occasion.
What worries do you have?
Well, that's what I said. Well, yes, you know me too well, Larissa. I am indeed worried. Do you think people will see me as, well, the boy or the man, the son or the earl? It is important to me that I am respected.
This resolve token is for this to be Edgar's probably 20th time telling her this.
Yes.
This is an ongoing thing, so she's very bored.
I'll take that. You know, the Earl of Dabney is only 18 years old, and yet people respect him as well as his father. But the Count of Aberdeen, he's 35 and people still treat him like a child, and I just don't know. You know, in my youth, with all of the things.
Look, Edgar, I don't think we have time to get into this area.
Evening.
I really don't think we've got the time. You know that it's important for people to see us, Louise included.
Yes.
As a unit, that we are taking our steps forward and presenting the hall in a new light. I think that the hall is a place that people look up to upon their rides, and I think that the hall reflects us. We must reflect the hall.
Have you talked to Louise?
She wants the library to be reopened, but unfortunately I really think that the Peacock Room would be a better use of our resources at this stage. The library is very narrow in its scope, and I don't think that many would, probably only that local pastor boy.
I can't recall the last time I was in the library. The Peacock Room, on the other hand, brings back some memories that I cannot decide whether are fond or better off filed far away.
And she just gives you a strange look, I think, as the scene ends.
Yes, that's definitely the end of that scene. Do we want to jump to Louise and Matthew at the garden party?
Yeah, I've got an idea here. I think the guests are arriving into the garden party. It is one of those things that because the fountain is running again and it's open, everyone's putting throwing money in, all the guests are taking a moment to... It's like signing the guest book.
Yes.
They're throwing their coin in.
Matthew is... I'm just gonna roll with it. Golden curly hair. It's a little bit shaggy. He needs to get a haircut. He's wearing his clerical outfit, of course, on this occasion. I think he's holding the coin in his hand and staring down contemplatively into the fountain. And then he turns to Louise and he says, "Well, what fortune should I wish for? What good luck should I conjure with this throw?"
Your wish is your own. I would not presume for you to wish on my behalf.
What if I were to gift it to you?
She rolls her eyes and she pulls out her own little coin. She says, "You didn't think I'd come without my own."
You must have thrown many coins into this fountain. Let's throw our coins together. On 3, shall we? 1, 2, 3. Cast their coins into the fountain and watch as they sink down to the bottom.
What did you wish for?
Well, if you tell, it doesn't come true. And then he smiles a little smile and he says, "But I think you may be able to guess."
Would you like to accompany me to greet the guests?
We should. I should meet your brother. He has been here 9 months, and yet, aside from seeing him from the top of the pulpit, we've yet to have a conversation.
Yes, I think that would be a good thing to do. And I guess she takes a deep breath in and scans the crowd for Edgar.
Mm-hmm. I know that you're playing Larissa, but as we all know, to avoid characters talking to themselves, the facilitator can take over the role of the connection. Yes. I kind of like the final scene in our novel chapter today to be a conversation between Louise and Larissa.
Ooh, okay, not Louise and Edgar.
I would offer a resolve token for that.
Okay, I will take it.
And Larissa finds Louise after Matthew has departed from the garden party. And
can I be holding a flower that it looked like was recently picked for me?
Yes, so she strides over, takes in the flower, and she smiles a very warm smile at you and says, "My dear Louise, tell me you did enjoy the party."
Yes, Lady Russell, it was a wonderful affair. It is so good to see the grounds and the facade of Swinley Hall restored once more to its former glory.
Lady Russell, we are sisters. You must call me Larissa.
Oh, Lady Russell, Larissa, of course.
I still see you have been given a gift.
Oh, yes, she says. It's just from a friend.
From a friend?
Yes.
A gentleman friend?
And I think I put it back on a bit of my dress. So I'm not holding it anymore, and I say, "Yes, the local pastor. I'm not sure that you've had a long time to meet him, Mr. Longbourn."
Oh, Mr. Longbourn.
Sorry.
Quaint. How very condescending of you.
Condescending? I don't think that's quite the right word.
Oh, yes. But don't you think Edgar conducted himself very well tonight? You must find him a changed man. You must see that he has changed.
I think this is like Louise because she's a bit more comfortable.
Monologue.
Okay. There was a time in our youth, I recall, in these same grounds when Edgar, Matthew, and I played. Edgar used to wield a stick like it was a riding crop and asked young Matthew to play his noble steed while I had to play the princess he would save. He was quite a rowdy boy in his own way, that Edgar. I feel time has tempered him, and I feel like Edgar, for the first time in many years, is trying. When the illness first struck my father, it took so many letters to convince Edgar to even visit from the continent. He truly felt far away from the family, callous even to our needs. I am proud of the change in him, and I hope that this means that he can see the man that Matthew has become now.
So cute, I'm dying!
Yes.
And I think that's where we're going to finish our novel chapter.
Yes.
Yes. So let us move ever forward onto the reputation phase. And obviously in this first reputation phase, we will just be doing reputation for our upstairs major characters because we haven't created our downstairs major characters yet. So, do you think you hit any of your reputation criteria?
No, I think I'm good.
I think Edgar got away unscathed for now as well.
For now, yeah.
Excellent. So, our next phase is going to be the household gossip phase. The household gossip phase replaces rumor and scandal, and it's very similar, except it focuses on the rumor and scandal happening within the household itself, since the manor is naturally all that we care about. So as usual, we will go around the circle and take turns to create rumors or spread them, and we get 2 turns each. However, when you spread a rumor, you can choose to spread it either in the upstairs sphere of the house or in the downstairs sphere of the house. A rumor that is spread in one of these spheres, for example, a rumor spread upstairs, is believed by everyone in that sphere of the house to be true, even though it may not even have been heard of downstairs. And I will say, even though we haven't yet created our downstairs characters, we can absolutely spread rumors downstairs because I think that will give us great fodder when we jump into our downstairs characters as well. Do you have an idea?
All right. I do have one idea.
Okay, then you start.
I think that there is talk that Lady Larissa Russell improvements is beyond what the budget of the household can take. Yeah.
My rumor is that Louise will soon be leaving the manor.
Ooh.
I got a second turn, so I'm going to spread my own rumor downstairs.
Downstairs, okay. I would like to create a new rumor. That the new Earl will be making staffing changes.
So next up is our epistolary phase. And this is exactly the same as the epistolary phase of Good Society, except that, of course, since we're all in the same household, we don't have to use the formal post. And you can slip notes under doors, leave them on breakfast plates, whatever mode of communication best strikes you.
I think Louise is going to write a note to her brother. Edgar, I know we broached the subject, and I still await an answer from you in regards to the Reverend Longbourn. I urge you to remember the ties that bind our families together since childhood. And I would like you to place great weight on the fact that Father himself approved of this match. Your sister, always in love, Louise.
Dearest sister, Matthew is certainly a very nice gentleman, and do not think that I disregard the weight of Father's approval if he did so approve. However, I worry that you simply have not seen enough of this world to understand the sort of gentlemen that are appropriate for a lady of your station. We grew up with Matthew. He is a local pastor. I do not mean this as a sign of disrespect towards him. I am merely stating the facts. Your attendance in London has been sorely lacking, with mother and father being so unwilling to leave the estate. Your education in the ways of the wider world has simply been absent. I will not stand in your way, but I strongly urge you to consider what possibilities the world may hold before you shackle yourself to a less than ideal connection.
I'm going to do a more silly second letter
Mhm.
from Lady Russell. It's on heavy paper.
Mhm.
It's addressed to some influential and old money type family in the region, and it says, "Dear Mr. Thornton, I would like you to know that, as well as the grounds being opened in our house, that visiting hours for the Peacock Room and other parts of the hall will now be observed. I know you've long since missed these rooms, and I'd like to see you at its grand opening. Yours, Lady Russell."
I guess gonna write a letter to Larissa. This is just like a note. Like, couldn't catch you. Wrote note.
Too busy with the Peacock Room.
Too busy.
Finding new drapery for it in town.
L. Hate all these silly rumours. Wish people would stop talking about us. Must be that we simply made such an impression. Going on a ride with a few gentlemen. Maybe a light hunt or two. Back late, don't worry. E.
Great.
And with that out of the way, we are going to end our session for today here, and we will come back for part 2 when we create our downstairs major characters.
Sounds good.
See you soon. Okay, we're back for our second session, and it's time to create our downstairs major characters. So I've laid out here the downstairs portion of our playset in full, which is just sets of desires and relationship cards. And as well as that, we both have a servant character sheet here, which we will use to create our characters. So as usual, we'll be starting with desires and relationships and creating our characters that way. So do either of these two desires appeal to you?
I will take this one. Best your rival and be chosen for the promotion.
Okay, I'll take this one. Protect your favorite member of the family upstairs and help them achieve their desire. So now we have our desires. We are going to form relationships.
Okay.
And here we need to take the relationships that we set aside during upstairs backstory and have a think about those as well. So what was this relationship?
This was a relationship for Lady Louise Russell. On the public side, it says under one roof. The giver and taker of this card reside in the same household, but in very different spheres. But in private, best of friends, the giver and taker of this card became acquainted by chance and became fast friends despite the odds. Now they exist in different spheres of the same household. Both know their relationship is not appropriate to continue, yet they still care deeply for each other's welfare.
So, who do we think that might connect Louise to? It would gel well with my desire, which is to protect your favorite member of the family upstairs and help them to achieve their desire.
Yeah, so let's do
maybe
that.
let's take it over.
It's better
here.
so that it's not me and my character.
Yeah, and then of course we are also going to be rivals.
So I've also got a rival card.
So the giver and taker of this card are rivals. Perfect. Yes. So now we know our characters' desires and relationships. The next thing we're going to work out is our positions within the household. And we can use our staff roster sheet to help us do that.
Okay,
because
cool.
This has got all the possible positions for indoor servants written on it.
Right. Something that's relevant here is that I'm vesting you to be chosen for the promotion. So we should both be up for the same job. I think it'd be fun to go for the butler because that's like the big head honcho job.
Okay, very good. So in that case, it would be two gentlemen. Maybe one of us could be a valet to Lord Edgar, and the other one could be first footman.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
So now we've decided on our positions, we have to create the most scandalous aspect of our downstairs major character, and that is our secret. So each servant is possessed of a secret which they hold close to their heart, and it's either a secret burden, a secret vice, or a secret ambition. A secret burden is an obligation, a debt, or duty that a character has to endure. For example, a sick parent who are dependent for money, or a large debt. A secret vice is a dangerous indulgence from which the character cannot forbear. So that could be gambling, it could be a relationship with another servant, since that usually wasn't allowed. And then a secret ambition is a hope that a character holds for their future that would take them away from all this in the manor. So, for example, marrying the merchant's son, or enlisting in the army, or learning to read and becoming a clerk, or something along those lines. So we'll have to pick whether we want a burden, a vice, or ambition. And, while we do this, we can obviously think about what kind of person our character is. Maybe give them a name, all that kind of thing as well.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with a secret burden. I like the idea that it's a person. My character's secret burden is that he has an illegitimate son that he's trying to protect and take care of financially and or otherwise.
Right. How long has your character been a valet to Edgar? Was he a valet at the time of the continent? Is your son from this area, or is he from somewhere else?
So, yeah, I think that he's probably come with Edgar from wherever Edgar was before that, and has taken his son in tow as, I think he would introduce him as like a nephew or some sort of family relation. And so they're both new to this area.
I've decided that I'm going to call my character John Williams. I think John Williams is a really generous, sociable kind of person. And he's the kind of person who loves the idea of going into a bar and like shouting everyone there some drinks, right? I think that's the kind of person that he is. I think he spends a lot of money, or he wants to spend a lot of money. And to fuel this vice, because we said that a lot of the house is unused, right? And the Russell parents has passed away. I think he's been refurbishing, for want of a better word, like mending and patching up unused items in the household that haven't been touched for a very long time, and has been selling them and has been using the money to impress people with his generosity and take care of little problems the servants have. This breaks, that breaks, things need replacing. Suddenly they're replaced.
Yeah, he's the kind of person to slip like an envelope with a few bills inside.
I think it's more like, yesterday your shoe didn't have a sole, today it's got a sole on it. Like,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And he sort of thinks about it as like, well, it's coming from the household and going back into the household, right? I think he is kind of squat, bit of a belly, doesn't fit into that livery as well as he used to. And he likes to laugh,
Yeah. Mr. Hector Poole has an immaculate sense of fashion, and with a strangely very similar style to Edgar, almost as though some of Edgar's old things that he deemed not appropriate for earldom made its way to Hector's own personal wardrobe. Nevertheless, his temperament he's got quite the vicious temper. He wants only the very best, of course. That's why he's valet to an earl, not just some gentleman. And I think that drive is what he wants as well for his son. His son's in the troublesome teenage years.
John has worked in the household for like a long time, like 10 years, maybe since he was 25. And probably his friendship with Louise formed at a time where there just wasn't that many other people around, in terms of, Louise's parents were sick. John was probably helping care for them.
Yeah.
And they would have spent a lot of time together that way. And,
Yeah, I like the idea of like that she has a lot of pressure on her during this time, and it was just, her brother was away.
Yeah.
And I think that like in a way, John was a calming presence in her life.
He's a very familiar, warm presence, right?
Yeah, I like that.
So the last thing we are going to do to create our downstairs characters is to invent a location in a manner that is important to them. Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that one of the old rooms downstairs, probably a faraway one, I want to say it's like an old morning room where like there's the light shines in there pretty strongly in the morning. It's a pretty pleasant place, but it's just very weirdly shaped and out of the way, and like John has kind of converted that into his like factory where he does all his mending, and then like, you know, he drapes the linen back over it. Like you can't
Like,
see it when you walk in, but if you pull it off, you can see all of
the like half
display
patch things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's cool. For Hector, I actually think that the place in the manor is like, so sometimes after he's finished dressing the Earl Russell, and the Earl goes down the stairs to greet the guests, like there's this moment that Hector, you know, is still in the room and packing up everything. And the special place is like the mirror, the full length mirror, because I think Hector just like always takes a moment to stand there and look at his own reflection and dream. And reminds himself of the things that are important to him.
So now we've created and we've introduced our downstairs major characters. And your downstairs major characters share the same pool of resolve tokens and monologue tokens as your upstairs characters. Right. So from our last session, I had 2 left. And I used my monologue token.
Yeah, so I've got 3 and I've got 1 monologue.
Yeah, so when you play that, you can choose whether you would like to hear the inner monologue of Edgar or John.
Okay.
Much like our upstairs characters, our downstairs characters also have one connection.
Okay.
And that connection should be somebody linked to your secret. Whether they are literally your secret, in your case, you might want to make your son. Or whether they are somebody who gets in the way of your secret, or, you know, encourages it or uses it for their own purposes. It's up to you. So what that will mean is that usually each player will be playing 4 characters, so 2 major characters and then an upstairs connection and a downstairs connection. If you don't feel comfortable playing 4 characters, you can surrender one or both of your connections to the facilitator, and so they can take on those characters and you can play just the major characters if that's what you prefer. So with that said, let's create our connections.
I've made Samuel Poole. Sam's my illegitimate son. He's 15. He thinks of Hector, my major character, as, you know, somewhat of a tyrant. I know he only means well, but it's my life. So Sam is currently working as a hall boy under John, and he's pretty bad at his job. He doesn't like the dirty work.
Great. Takes after his father. My connection is Timothy Williams, second footman and John's cousin. He's 22 years of age, very uptight fellow, and he believes that John gives and takes too much and he should just stop meddling and stick to his job. So, of course, you'll be playing Timothy and I'll be playing Samuel. And they do get their own pool of resolve tokens.
Okay, great.
And the last thing we have to do in downstairs backstory is to fill in our staff roster sheet. So we start by filling out
our characters
the
and
characters that we're aware of. So we've got John.
Valet.
We've got
Hector Poole.
Hector. I would say that the position of butler is currently probably vacant. It's something John's probably been de facto doing.
Ooh, I like that.
For the last little while.
Yeah, just for the 6 months. Yeah, since the last.
Vacant. And what we can do is go through and fill out our other members of house as well, so that if we need them during the game, we've got them here. And we can also add 1 or 2 descriptive words just to help us have a thought starter of fleshing them out. Okay, so now we have finished creating our downstairs major characters and their connections. We are going to jump into the second novel chapter phase. And the second novel chapter phase plays through exactly the same events as the first, but from the perspective of the downstairs major characters. So in our case, this will be the garden party, but we're going to see what Hector and John are up to around this event. So we're going to start this novel chapter with a series of quick introductory scenes, and then we will open up the floor as usual. So do you want to set us an introductory scene for Hector? What's Hector up to on the day of this garden party?
Okay, I think Hector is got quite like a strong jaw, really dark hair, slicked back, and I think that the scene is that he is like laying down like the his implements for shaving the Earl. So this is like slightly before the whole thing starts. This is when he's preparing it, and we see like he's sharpening the end of the blade, polishing everything up, and then wiping his hand, just close-ups of the razor shape. And he's just like very slowly and carefully doing it. And then he smiles at the end, like praises his own work and says, "Well done, my lord."
What we see, and I'm just going to jump in at the end of your scene, but first, I think we see a vignette of John setting up for the garden party. He's like directing Timothy and Samuel to, put that chair there and put that table over there. Samuel is having a bit of trouble in the heat, so John's just like, "Oh, you sit down, boy," and dragging things around and like getting cakes and putting cakes and all of these various things. And then John comes to find Hector a bit after Hector has finished dressing Edgar. So we've already, maybe Hector is putting away the 5 cravats that were not chosen for the occasion.
I think you walk in when I'm looking at the mirror with the dark slate grey one, like kind of like held up above what I'm currently wearing.
And John sort of got his livery half on. He started dressing. Unfortunately, he's having to fulfill the role of footman and butler, which is very trying for him. But he also loves how important he is doing 2 jobs. He strides in and puts his hand on the wall and says, "Well, you're done with his lordship then. All finished up.
Yes, spick and span.
You'll come down and lend us a hand then."
Well, certainly you look like you need a hand. And he looks you up and down very pointedly.
"Well, I'm doing just fine. It's that Samuel boy. Having a bit of trouble in the heat, he is. Could use another hand setting up the furniture.
Oh, yes, he is.
Final touches and that,
Yeah, he is he's still a young lad, Just, this will take one moment. And I'm like starting to like straighten out bits of your livery. Like just pulling tight, trying to get the button closed.
And John is like, "Oh, there's no need for that. There's no need for that. I'm not some lord who can't dress himself. This livery, I've worn it for 10 years now, and it fits better than it ever did."
I'm sure.
Blatantly lying.
You do look quite busy. Did you want me to assist you in some of the tasks? Perhaps you can help Samuel, and I'll ensure that the cakes and the catering are completed.
"Oh, that's all right. Leave the organizing to me. It's just moving the chairs."
I will give you this resolve token for this to be true. And what Hector wants to say. Well, they are taking the chairs from the morning room, so I suppose if
the grand morning room,
the one that's never used, no one ever goes in there.
The lower morning room.
Yes.
Well, damned to be carnations if they take that chairs from there. And he like starts striding out the door, and he's like, "I mean, them's chairs are not necessarily good for the taking out. That's what I'm saying. Why are they taking chairs from rooms and not telling me is what I'm saying?" And he's just muttering to himself as he's like running down the stairs.
I'll take care of the cakes, John.
Yes.
And then he just goes back to the cravat. It's like,
I've got a resolve token. If Timothy covered for John, but is really upset with him about it.
Ooh, I like that.
That goes to Timothy.
Yeah. John gets to the lower morning room.
Yeah.
And, a couple of the other footmen are like, "Oh, Mr. Williams, we've got it all under control." And they're all like already moving like chairs out. Like the sheets that are over everything have all been like, they're like lying on the ground around the place. But like you don't see any signs of your stuff.
Yes.
And your cousin's just there. Timothy's there with his arms like crossed and says, "Well, where have you been then?"
And I think this is when the last of the other servants like around the door and takes the chair out. And like John looks at Timothy and is like, "Now what the devil's going on here, huh?"
How's that for saying a thank you? And he like it strides over and pulls like one of the wardrobes nearby open, and like all of the half mended clothes fall out.
And John like runs over and like packs them back in and like closes the door.
Look, I can't be doing this for you all the time, willy-nilly. You've
Well,
got to stop this.
You get your benefit from it too, don't you? Who do you think got you those new shoes when your old ones got sunk knee-high in that cow's shit, huh?
I know, John. Look, I'm not saying am not grateful. I really am. I just think we all need to think about our futures. You're pretty much butler now, and I don't think that you can get away with this much longer.
I'm thinking about all our futures. That's what I'm doing. Now don't be standing around now. Lord Edgar wouldn't like it, and not to mention Lady Russell. You've got your job to be getting on doing.
Yes, and like Timothy makes a show of bowing very perfectly in. I think he's wearing livery too on stage, right? That tall boy though, I have not seen him since the first chair.
Poor Samuel.
I
think that scene, yeah.
I'd like to be seen putting, so Hector's gone out and like arranged, done all of the external facing stuff, right? Like a lot of the cakes, serving champagne to the, and I think I'd like Edgar to notice that, I will pay a resolve token for this.
That sounds like the sign you have to pay a resolve token for.
Like,
I don't think that necessarily.
I think it probably goes to the supplier. I guess it kind of goes to Edgar.
It's sort of a compel for Edgar.
Yeah. So
I'll take it. Why not?
We see Hector putting together the display of where the little cakes, delightful little cakes are. One of the other earlier guests who have arrived leans into Lord Edgar and says, "Oh my, that's quite the beautiful spread. I've never seen one. It's quite so stunning."
It's all in the presentation, Anyone can cook nowadays, but not anyone can put on a good show, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes. And I think the guest is just like, "Oh, yes, I understand," and like filters off. And I would like Hector to catch your eye for a moment. Like, "My lord, everything is ready and complete for the festivities."
Good job, Mr. Poole. It seems like you're running the whole show yourself.
Yes, it's going extremely well, my lord.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Now, old boy, and he sort of pats you on the shoulder and he's like, "Afraid I don't have much time to chat, but would you do me a favor, for I have the intention to surprise Lady Russell with an evening carriage ride, and I must have the slate grey cravat, so get it ready for me, won't you?"
"As you wish," and he bows. And he notices Mr. Williams is finally here in his livery. Certainly. And then I bow, make a grandiose show of it, and then wander off.
Yeah, and I think we see Edgar watching Williams as his berating Samuel. I think probably, and there's the button is starting to come undone at the top of his shirt, and Edgar's just So I think that finishes up our second novel chapter phase, and from there we are going to move on to the Sunday phase. The Sunday phase is a phase that's new to Downstairs at the Abbey, and it's there to explore the lives of the servants outside of the manor. So it focuses on the personal lives and drama of the Downstairs characters, and it takes place on a Sunday afternoon, which is the only time off that the characters have. So the Sunday phase works in a very similar way to a visitation chapter in that we each have a turn to frame a scene, and each scene that we frame is going to take place on the same Sunday afternoon. So have a bit of a think, and when you're ready, let me know what you would like to see, or Hector.
So what I'm thinking is I think Hector needs to have a stern word with his son. But I think they're sitting on the side of a road with a little pie each. They're just grabbing a bite. It's a little bit awkward, I think, to talk face to face. So sometimes it's easier when you're doing something else, right? I know this move hasn't been easy, but you've really got to try. I heard what happened between you and Mr. Williams at the party. You have anything to say for yourself?
It's easy for you to say. You're standing there all day arranging cravats and doing sewing. You're not the one who has to empty the Mr. Williams' piss pot in the morning, are you?
You don't think I used to do that at your age? Certainly I did in my youth, but work hard enough and you won't have to do it for long. That's all I can say.
Yeah, work hard enough and you can one day aspire to arrange cravats. Fine life.
This is rather fine. Look, we came here so that I could head up Swinley Hall as its butler. That's something that will benefit both of us. But if you continue in this way, you'll be an embarrassment and a stain for me. I can't keep protecting you when you're bringing the standards of this household down?
How could I be an embarrassment for you when you don't even tell anyone who I am?
Because I'm embarrassed, son.
He chomps down his pie and dribbles down his chin, and he wipes his chin with his shirt cuff.
Let me put you straight. You do a bang-up job right now, right this instance from now on, or I'm going to have to fire you myself.
Samuel just sulks, bites into his pie, and spits a bit of gristle out into the ground, and glares side-eye at Hector.
I think I've made an enemy.
Good job. I think that's that scene. My Sunday phase scene, I would like to be after church. And I kind of want to see in between John and Louise, since we haven't seen this best friends relationship yet. And I'm kind of imagining the scene as this. I think the Williams family are a local family. Very big. Lots of relations of all ages.
Cousins and second cousins.
Yes, grandparents, parents, cousins,
Twice
children.
removed.
They take up a whacking great section in the church.
Yep.
And so when church is over, John is in his element. He's handing little bits and bobs to the children. He's showing the grandparents how to use the whatsy. I think Louise is watching from the other side of the church. I think Edgar and Larissa have already sort of gotten up and gone.
Yes, they've got
to
better
talk
things
to more
do.
important people. And Matthew is still busy. And I think John catches her eye and gives her a big smile.
And she's like, no flower for me then.
And I think he pushes out through the crowd of Williamses and kind of strides over and says, "Oh, quite the contrary, Lady Louise. You got a whole damn garden of them."
I see that you're settling well into the duties of the butler. I do hope it hasn't inconvenienced you.
You know me, I love a little bit of running around. And what about yourself, young miss? How are things with your brother being home and all?
It's been strained somewhat. John, you don't suppose you could whisper some little... I mean, not that Edgar would be one to take a direction from someone, but just to hint a few things his way for me.
Now you look. You've been in that manor more years of your life than your brother has. By time spent. And if anyone is going to force you out or make you do something you don't want to do, now they have to be talking to me, Mr. Lord of the Manor, or not, okay?
That's not what I meant, John. And I think she looks around embarrassed. She didn't want this to come out in that way. I think she says, I mean Edgar's very influential. I think if you assure him that he can use his influence to stamp down any talk of marrying down and such, that the Russell name itself will carry on, that might help. Would you do that? Result token.
I want to play it out a little bit further before I decide
Okay.
on that. I think he says, "But I thought you was sweet on," kind of glances down to the back of the church. Someone.
If Edgar can be convinced that whatever choice I make, his own influence would smooth out any wrinkles, I'm sure it'd be an easier choice for him to make. I know it's a lot to ask. I wouldn't have asked it of anyone else.
Now, I'll be frank there, Lady Louise. I don't think I have too much influence over Edgar. But I could talk to Hector. He might be able to bring him round to something or another.
Is that a yes? But I'll take it. Oh, that would mean the world to me. I see that I've seen you two get closer over these months. I'm so glad to hear, and I think this is her assuming. Here it's gone so well between you two.
Mm-hmm.
Ludalug, what do you actually think about Hector right now?
Why things gotta go changing. Swinley Hall used to be a nice old place, run by a nice old man. And I thought things would carry on going the way they were. I thought Edgar would stay away, and I thought Louise would have the run of it. And boy, how wrong I was. It's not only is his lordship and Lady Russell now running the place. I have to put up with the Lord of the Servants, that darned Mr. Poole. Now, if he tells me what to do one more time, I'll be taking issue with him at supper. Somehow. Darned. Why you got to be Edgar's favourite? I think that's his name.
I think I'm good for Sunday.
Okay, yeah. Sunday has
Come
finished
and
up.
gone.
Come and gone. So brief the time off. Then we move forward from that onto reputation. And for this reputation phase, since we focused on the downstairs characters in both the novel and Sunday phase chapters, we are just going to do downstairs reputation. And reputation for downstairs major characters works differently to upstairs major characters. Downstairs major characters don't have their own reputation tags because they're not really talked about in society the way upstairs major characters are. Instead, their actions can influence the reputation of the upstairs major characters. Makes sense. What your staff do reflects upon your reputation. So on your servant character sheet, you will see a reputation criteria section. And there is 2 criteria here, one positive and one negative. So the positive criteria is, did you go out of your way to protect or restore the household name? And the negative criteria is, did you bring scandal, shame, or severe embarrassment to the household? So we have to consider whether we think John or Hector met either of those criteria. I don't think John did anything to bring scandal, shame, or embarrassment, and I also don't think he went out of his way to protect the household either.
Okay, so I think I did get the did you go out of your way to protect the house or restore the household name by threatening my son basically with probation.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I could see that.
Because I think that is
Because
really
he
out
was
of my
an
way.
embarrassment to the household.
Yeah, and he was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
So that's protecting the household in that sense.
So the result of that is that you can remove the negative tag of one of our upstairs major characters.
I mean, the closest would be Edgar's vein tag, maybe.
Because his vein tag comes from his past, right? Like, he's always the one, dressing up extravagantly compared to everyone else and overdoing it, right?
Yeah.
And if the rest of his household matches his standards, he doesn't seem like he's comparatively vain anymore. He just seems like it's appropriate to his position.
It's like out of context when he was in the continent, may seem vain,
Yes.
but like now in context with Swinley Hall.
It just fits right in. Yeah. So I like that.
That's
idea.
what.
So we will erase his vein tag. Thank you very much. Edgar's great. I don't know anyone would ever say anything bad about Edgar. So that would be downstairs reputation done. And so in future cycles, you would complete upstairs and downstairs reputation during this step. And there's no division in the novel chapter phases either. So upstairs and downstairs characters can appear.
In both.
Yes.
Yep.
Now we've reached our second epistolary phase. That's exactly what's going to happen. So from here on, the game opens up. We can feature letters from upstairs characters or downstairs characters or both and sort of follow the story naturally and take it in whatever direction we want.
Excellent.
So I hope our video today has helped you understand the rules of Downstairs in the Abbey and given you a bit of a taste about what a game is like. So with that said, go forward and play out your own upstairs, downstairs drama.
See you next time.
Bye.